All right, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. I am your host, Greg Romero Wilson, or as I like to say, Greg Romero Wilson. What a week. Let's just get right into it. Week 6. What a crazy week. There was so much that happened this week. There were a lot of things. And let's just start with the big story. Yo, Adrian Peterson, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is what I have been waiting all season. And let me just tell you, fantasy football-wise, if you follow the show, you know that I have 3 leagues this year, and that one of them's been doing great, one of them has been struggling, and then one of them has just downright been sucking big fat donkey dicks. I mean, it couldn't get more balls in its mouth if it's tried. This fucking team, it should have won 2 games. And every time it managed to find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. One time I just needed the team to hold Terrell Pryor Sr. to under 10 points. If they could just hold him under 10 points total, I would be fine. And Terrell Pryor Sr.'s been terrible this year. It should have been easy. Should have been a lock. But no, they threw one final pass downfield and screwed me. I lost by like a half a point. Then last week, I should have won. I think I needed 4 points from one of my players. I forgot which one it was, but someone that one of the receivers that should have gotten me 4 points, and instead he got me 1.3 points. So this is what it's been like for that team. But Adrian Peterson, when I said Peterson, I've been saying it. I've been saying hold on to him. Don't drop him. Although as much as I've said it on this show, as much as I've believed it, that I knew there'd be a change, that something would happen. And I've been saying that they would trade him. And I think I even said around week 6, their bye week, that they would probably trade him to another team because he just didn't fit in New Orleans. And that's exactly what happened. And what drove me nuts is that he wasn't even an afterthought on any of the fantasy shows. People were like, I think maybe, I wouldn't expect too much. And I'm like, do you guys not understand what's happening here? An incredible generational talent has been marginalized for 5 weeks. You think he's not going to come out and absolutely have the game of his life? Now, the question is, does he continue to play like that? And the reality is, I don't know. I don't know if he does. Now, I do think because of the commitment to the run on the part of Bruce Arians, and I knew Andre Ellington was going to be I knew all the rest of them were going to be worthless with Adrian Peterson back there. And sure enough, Andre Ellington gets our Blutarski of the week, 0.0, which is one of the reasons that when hopefully you did this too, the second I heard about the Ezekiel Elliott ban going back into effect, I immediately ran out and grabbed as many Darren McFadden's as I could get my hands on. Some people grabbed Alfred Morris because he's the one that's been actually backing up Ezekiel Elliott so far this year. But I was like, I feel like Darren McFadden's going to be the guy. And so right now, there's been a lot of talk about it being Darren McFadden. Of course, the NFLPA wants to go to court and get all 6 judges or whatever to look at and all. Come on, guys. I honestly believe that, it's this bad energy of this 6-game suspension hanging over their heads that has been ruining this season for the Cowboys. I think it's one of the reasons the Cowboys haven't been moving the ball that well. I think it's one of the reasons they've just kind of seemed disjunctured instead of that smooth attack that they had last year, where it seemed like they just knew exactly how to move up and down the field. Granted, they lost 2 of their offensive linemen. I realize that. But it just hasn't looked the same in terms of chemistry for Zeke. And it's got to be this heavy distraction. It must be the distraction. And listen, don't be surprised if Dallas comes out and plays better without Zeke Elliott, just like New Orleans did without Adrian Peterson. Talk about a divorce that's a win-win for both fucking people. Because, you could see the Saints were just like, finally, we're loose of that energy of him just being like, I'm fucking Adrian Peterson, put me in the fucking game. And so they got rid of that. And they were able to use the two guys that they like very effectively. I know a lot of people left Mark Ingram on the bench, although it seems like that would be the week to play Mark Ingram unless you were totally afraid of Kamara. But, sure enough, Mark Ingram came out and destroyed and was an absolute destroyer for his owners this weekend. So everybody needs to be playing Mark Ingram from this point going forward. Hold on one second. I gotta fix this. It's falling on me. I'm got it kind of rigged up here and not going too well. There we go. Now we got it. Here we go. Back on track. All right. There we go. All right. I think it could be my mustache. My porno stash. You like it? All right. And here we go. Okay, so Ingram came out, ended up racking up 34 points in a PPR league. He was fucking fantastic. Kamara only delivered 11 points, which I could see where a lot of people would have thought Kamara was the one who was really going to see an uptick. But boy, Mark Ingram came out, he was like, fine, my job, great. And Adrian did what I knew he was going to do. I even tweeted, if you look at my tweets, at the Greg Wilson, excuse me for the hiccup. If you look at the Greg Wilson on Twitter, you'll see that I tweeted at NFL Fantasy Live, because they didn't have him listed in their top 15 running back projections for the weekend. I'm like, how is he not? I tweeted him, I said, how can David Johnson be the #1 overall pick in most leagues, and yet an angry Adrian Peterson isn't considered top 15? You don't think he's going to put up top 15 numbers? And boy, I sure like being right all the time. And in this case, I was very, very right. And Adrian Peterson lifted all 3 of my teams in all 3 of my leagues to victory. Now, stupidly, I did not use him, or did I use him in fantasy, in my daily fantasy? I don't know if I did, but there were too many other guys that scored big points. This was a big point scoring week, considering how low the scoring's kind of been all season. Like, all season has been a lot of, 9s and 10s and 11s, with, like, the few exceptions of, like, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Leonard Fournette. A lot of guys, and of course, Kareem Hunt, you cocksucker. It was wasn't it great watching Kareem Hunt float back down to earth this week? I don't know. Why? I always want guys to become human that I don't have. But, of course, I have Tom Brady in 2 leagues, and he's been looking incredibly human, and we'll talk about that in just 1 second. But anyways... but it was an incredible, it turned into an incredible situation for the Saints, where they wound up racking up 53 points. Now, what's odd about that is, Mark Ingram had a huge day. Drew Brees did not. Drew Brees still only pitched in 10 fantasy points. He really didn't look that great in this huge win. You'd think when the team scores 53 points that, Drew Brees has 40 points on his, in fantasy. But that was not the case. And in fact, Mark Ingram, 34 points, but it was their defense. Now, remember, they'd been talking about how they completely retooled the defense at the beginning of the season, and then they came out and they didn't play so great. Let's just look at the New Orleans defensive numbers in order. First game, they turned up about a point. Second game, another point. Got another point. In the third game, 22 points. In the fourth game, 30 points. Then they went on a bye week, and they came out of the bye week and racked up 45 points on a Detroit Lions offense. That can be considered good, at least. It's at least middle up good. Between Matthew Stafford, who ended up again, because of the interceptions, having a very pedestrian day in fantasy. Although Golden Tate looked great. He did great. Marvin Jones Jr., if you played him, which a lot of people left him on the bench, he ended up having a very big day. But the New Orleans defense seems to be getting better and better and better, and now is a good time to get them on your bench. I like to have 2 high-performing defenses. I have Seattle in all 3 of my leagues, but then, like, in one, I also have the Ravens, because sometimes you just get a better matchup. Although Seattle, right before they went on this bye week, ended up putting up a huge game and looking fantastic, and it was a game that I didn't think they were going to look that great in, and they wound up having a monster game. So, But I think New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is another defense, and the Eagles. That's another one. These three defenses seem to be very hot right now and putting up big points. And in terms of not being Kansas City, not being Denver, not being Seattle, not being Houston. Although Houston now, because of can I tell you something? Okay, so I thought Houston wasn't going to do that great against Cleveland. The only reason, in terms of the defense, the only reason I thought that was because how Hogan came in at the end of last week and was fucking great. Really he got the team going and he got him excited. He brought that energy. I'm like, oh, you better watch out. Hogan seems to be doing something. And of course, Houston lost J.J. Watt and they lost Merciless. And so I'm like, okay, let's pump the brakes on this Houston defense. I release the Houston defense and pick up the Tennessee defense because they're playing Indianapolis, who's been giving up the absolute most points. So I was like, safer bet. Cleveland goes down there. Whoo, boy, they couldn't suck enough cocks. And Houston ended up giving their defense wound up racking up 30 points. And it almost cost me the matchup. Now, luckily, Tennessee showed up and they got me 10, and I ended up winning that match by 10, 15 points. But going into that, I mean, I really needed Tennessee to perform. And in the first half, Jacoby Brissett looked pretty good. He was completing passes. I'm like, oh, you cocksucker. Because the only way I could lose is if the Tennessee defense got negative 2 points. And in that first half, I was like, they might come on. But they picked it up in the second half, wound up with 10 points, and I wound up walking away with that one. But man, I'll tell you what, that Houston defense looked great, but against Cleveland, I don't know how much you're going to be able to trust them against quality teams. All right. But anyway, so I almost got beat by the defense I let go of, because that's the way you go. Let me tell you something, folks. Now's the time to go in on Martellus Bennett, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm going to try and drop him in one league, although I'm going to play him in another one, because here's the thing. With Hundley coming in, he's either going to need Martellus Bennett a lot, or Martellus Bennett is going to be needed to block a lot. So it's one or the other, and it'll be very interesting to see how that cuts, because I think this might actually be good for Martellus Bennett. Not good for anybody else, but maybe for Aaron Jones, but not good for the wide receivers in general. But I think it could be good for Martellus Bennett, who we've been waiting to get a little bit more piece of the pie. So even though, and also, I'm dropping him this week in one league because I want to get Nelson Aguilar. And if I get Nelson Aguilar, then goodbye to Martellus Bennett and all his inconsistencies. And that will be your signal that he's going to have an amazing game. Because that's what happens. I drop somebody and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, Greg dropped us? Fine, guys, turn it up to 11. That's what I get. This is what I get. Aaron Rodgers. Okay, so let's talk about the real big story. I know. For me, it was Adrian Peterson because it's what I'd been waiting for 6 weeks, and I'm just so glad it finally came along because I really needed to help push these teams. So we'll see how it works out. But Aaron Rodgers going out. If you were playing against Aaron Rodgers, I gotta be honest, when he went out, I knew I'd already won that match now. So it wasn't even that much fun to follow that one because it's like when he puts up less than a point, your chances of winning just go astronomically through the roof. So I wasn't that excited. Although I have to be honest with you, in my other league, in the show league, my work league, the guy playing the Aaron Rodgers team still lost. Still lost, which I don't know if that means his team isn't that bad. This other kid, he's like an idiot savant with this shit. He's got everybody. This kid fucking he creeps me out a little bit, because you don't see it coming. He's a total fucking nerd. I think he's just doing like fucking nerd calculations and shit. Doesn't even, and it's working because he still managed to win, even when Aaron Rodgers got knocked out of the game in like the first 3 minutes. I knew he was hurt, too, because he got up fucking barking at that fucking division. Like, hey, motherfucker, you fucking cocksucker. And I'm looking at him like, oh, shit, he's pissed. He must really be hurt. And sure enough, man, he was fucking injured. Jameis Winston got hurt, too. Now, Jameis Winston, he came back out, and he was trying to... You could tell he wanted to go out there. He's throwing the ball. But they were like, nah, because it was his throwing shoulder. And that's not a good thing for Jameis Winston. He's already had accuracy problems all season, and now he's got this hurt shoulder. I don't know, guys. I don't know. we'll see how much you're going to be able to trust Jameis going forward. Although Fitzpatrick looked pretty good in relief, but that defense doesn't seem to be able to stop a booger from going through a Kleenex. But yeah, but if Aaron Rodgers went down to your matchup and didn't mind, you were thrilled. You're like, oh, fuck, I don't have to worry about this one now. Let's talk about that Steelers defense. Let's be honest. This is the other one. I mentioned them earlier. They put up 19 points against the Kansas City Chiefs, a very hot team in Kansas City. But I knew they were going to have a bounce-back game. I knew that it was actually good they were going to be good against this team because they got butt-fucked by the week before on national television. So I knew that they were going to, when he threw the 5 interceptions against Jacksonville. So I knew they were going to be big for a bounce back. That Steelers defense has had double-digit points in every single game this year. Pick up the Steelers defense. Antonio Brown, this guy's he's worth every penny. Now, I remember last year he wasn't as much worth he was a little hot and cold, but this year, 8 receptions, 155 yards, 36 fantasy points. That's what you're looking for. Tommy Brady. Tom Brady had a great matchup versus the Jets, but now I will say this, I was a little concerned about it because, it's a division rivalry, right? And when it's a division rivalry, they're going to, they're going to play tougher in the division there, and the Jets hate the Patriots. Now, granted, they couldn't bring them down, but they gave them a hell of a fight. And Josh McCown, I got to say, looks pretty good. And I'll tell you somebody else is the real deal. We're going to be going through a couple guys that I call the real deal. Austin Seferian-Jenkins. He's one of those guys that I think is really going to remain. And again, because who's his competition? Curse? Anderson? He has as much a chance of catching the ball as anybody else on that team. He's taking advantage of his opportunity. That guy, I like me some ASJ. And in fact, I don't like playing against ASJ when I see him on other teams in my league. That's been a problem. But Tom Brady. Is Tom Brady human? That is the question we'll be addressing today, this week, on Everything. Thank you for listening to NPR. Tom Brady, I was just a few weeks ago extolling how even when he does bad, he does good. And that could be said about this week, too. I mean, even though he wasn't great, he threw another interception, his second interception, 2 games in a row. But he still got, 21 fantasy points. So he got 21 fantasy points, but he still threw for 2 touchdowns, both of them to Gronkowski. But his numbers weren't great. They weren't great for Tom Brady. Again, you expect to get 30 points from him any time. So when he only gives you 20, it's a little disappointing. So let's talk about it for 1 second, because he's going up. He has Atlanta coming into New England. My other quarterback is Dak Prescott, coming off a week's rest, going into San Francisco. San Francisco, a team that Kirk Cousins just put up 45 fantasy points against this last week. Now, they were in D.C. for that, so maybe it'll be a little different. And again, this San Francisco team is deceptively good. They're better than their record. They only lost, I think, 28-24. They didn't get blown out. But by the same token, he did throw some 2 big, long touchdown passes, got away from them. And that's what's going to happen against a team like San Francisco. They're going to give them some big plays. And if that happens with Dallas, and I think I think their offense may actually be smoother without the specter of will he or won't he be there. That's assuming, of course, that he goes, and I hope he does finally go. Go, man, just go. Let's just get over with. Let's end all this talk. Let's just fucking get back to what we do. But so I may, and right now I have him. This is how I have it lined up. I have Dak Prescott starting over Tom Brady in my in one of my leagues. Now I'm starting Tom Brady in the other one, but I got to tell you, I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned about Tom Brady. He's been very human, and Atlanta's going to be going. They would love nothing more than to punch Tom Brady in the face in front of the home crowd. You know that. And they're going to come fired up. I think it's at 5:30. But again, it's the Sunday night game. Who plays better in the spotlight than Tommy Brady? But Tommy Brady's also lost 2 Super Bowls in the spotlight to the Giants. I don't know, man. It's a lot to think about, ain't it? But Tom Brady's starting to look human. Everyone talks about the Madden curse. And I thought if there's anybody this doesn't apply to, it's Tom Brady. I'm beginning to wonder. I I get the feeling, maybe. Madden curse might actually be bigger than Tom Brady, and if that's the case, I will never draft it. Although it's still Tom Brady. It's never a bad investment. Marcus Mariota, he couldn't move. Boy, he didn't move very well at all, but he actually was a better passer. He actually topped 300 yards for the first time and hit the home run, brought home that win. That was a great game. Of course, again, it was versus Indianapolis, a team that he well should have beaten. So is Mariota someone you can trust going forward? Not until you see him get better, and I think you're going to see him get worse before he gets better. I don't know. Oh, man. Who's going to lead the Dallas RBs? That's a big question right now. Will Zeke be able to get this whatever in another injunction from 6 more judges, whatever the fuck they're trying to do? It's ridiculous. We're going to call a triumvirate. It's like the old, do you know juries in ancient Athens, Greece, were made of 500 people? That's how many people they're going to want to get decisions out of for this Zeke Elliott thing. Just take the suspension. We blew it on this whole thing about him being able to do whatever he wants, the power of Roger Goodell. It's going to have to be renegotiated, and you can't do that until the CBA comes up for negotiation. I don't think it's like another 3 years. So you guys, it's like us with Trump. We fucked ourselves. And we're stuck with this until the end of the contract. For another 3 fucking years. Way to go, America. Anyways, we love to give the wrong people all the power. It's really our favorite thing. Chicago Bears, man. They upset Baltimore. Mitch Trubisky. Listen, if you really don't have a good number 2 quarterback, stash Trubisky now. I think by the end of the season, this kid's going to be lighting it up. And I think it's just a matter of time before he has that game where he really connects with his receivers. The chemistry happens. It may not be this week, but I feel like Trubisky's got it in him. I really, really do. But thank you, Chicago, for going back to your winning formula from last season that's relying on Jordan Howard to get it done. Jordan Howard's a beast. Boy, and watching him stumble and bumble, it reminds me of, remember those first 2 seasons of Eddie Lacy when he was good Eddie Lacy? Which, that's another question mark going into this week. Who's going to be the running back in Seattle is anyone going to take this over? Is Eddie Lacy finally going to look like Eddie Lacy again? I don't think so. Is Jerick McKissick finally going to get enough touches to take this thing over? Because I think he's the guy that should be running things there. So we'll see. And give up on Thomas Rawls. This guy gets an injury just taking a shower. Fuck that guy. Another interesting thing, will Jay Ajayi ever score a touchdown? This is his second, finally, thank God, over 100 yards, 122 yards. So at least he did something for you. He probably gave you between 14 and 18 points, which is great. I was ecstatic because I used him in one league, but I did bench him in the other one because I was really sick of fucking watching him just not deliver. So, of course, because I benched him, he had a balls-out fucking game. Of course. Because that's what happens. If I bench you or drop you, you fucking ball out. That's what happens. Fucking asshole. But the Miami beat Atlanta. See, that's the other thing about this Atlanta thing coming to. Miami just beat Atlanta at home. And at the beginning of the season, I was like, oh, there's no hangover in Atlanta. This is still a rock'em sock'em high-speed fucking go route team. But now, I mean, they lost. Mohamed Sanu's out right now. Julio Jones he's a little banged up. He's banged up. I think we say that. And Matt Ryan ain't looking so great. Devontae Freeman, he's looking great. Tevin Coleman is once again the nightmare in fantasy that Tevin Coleman is, which he's like a Derrick Henry. Is he going to get the touches? Because if he gets the touches, he's amazing. But there's no guarantee he's going to get the touches. So will Ajayi ever score a touchdown? I certainly hope so. He's back in my lineups. I can't keep him out, but we'll see. Because it looks like they're at least leaning on the run like they should because your quarterback is fucking Jay Cutler. Deshaun Watson finally floated back to earth. Him and Kareem Hunt finally made it back down to earth, which, again, I only enjoy because I don't have them on my teams. And I hate to think that I really, like when Devontae Freeman first broke out, and I put him on my team and then put him off my team, and then he fucking took off the next week and I didn't have him. Okay, so, He floated back down to earth, had a rather pedestrian game, only put up about 20 points. But 20 points, like, that's the thing. I mean, when you're performing at that high level, like Tom Brady, you're disappointed at 20 points. But in the regular quarterback realm, that's a solid showing. That's still a dependable showing. So Deshaun Watson did not disappoint. He just became a little more human. Kareem Hunt, he was another one that even though he kind of got shut down, he still managed to get 88 yards and 5 receptions and give you 14 points. Fournette stayed hot. He had 27 points. He twisted his ankle at the end of the thing. And my whole reservation is that this history of injuries and him getting a little banged up already in preseason. So when he twisted his ankle, I was like, this is it, you motherfuckers, I knew you'd hurt yourself. But it looks like it's just a twisted ankle and I'm just a fucking dick. And that's the thing, most of my emotional choices are made out of me just being an asshole. Carson Palmer. Here's the thing about Carson Palmer. This is another guy you might want to pick up and put on your bench if you need a number 2 quarterback, because he showed that he needed the running game to light things up. The second that Adrian Peterson began to become effective, he lit it up down the field. Now, by the same token, I mean, you don't know which receiver it's going to be. I mean, the only one you can really count on is Fitzgerald. And then John Brown, Jerron Brown, and J.J. Nelson are all going to just alternate games as to who gets the touchdown. But Carson Palmer looked a million times better with Adrian Peterson running the ball. He wound up with 283 yards and 3 TDs. Boy, I tell you what, Adrian Peterson, baby, this is what I was waiting for, because the guy's fucking phenomenal, because he's a force to be reckoned with. You have to respect him when he lines up, whether you're going to hand him the ball or not. And you saw that a lot. They wouldn't hand to him. The play action was phenomenally powerful. Stay up there, guys. America's team. Woo! So, now, the Kareem Hunt, Terrell Pryor Sr. continues to suck a dick. This is one of those things that when you're like, just because a player did something one season, if they change teams, that does not guarantee they're going to do it the next. We've seen this so many times where a player was fucking huge at one team and then sucked the second they got moved for more money. And Terrell Pryor Sr. is just another example of that. You would think on paper that he should be explosive, gets a better quarterback, better system. He has yet to show us a thing, man. What's up with you, TP? No wonder your initials are TP. Want to wipe my ass with you, motherfucker? All right. So there's two dynamics that I think, a couple of dynamics that I think are very similar. In terms of wide receivers, what happens in Houston and Carolina is very similar. That Carolina has Funchess and Benjamin, and Houston has Hopkins and Fuller. And it seems like Benjamin and Hopkins should dominate, but it seems like on any given week, it could be the other guy. This week, it was Benjamin over Funchess, but it was Fuller over Hopkins. The week before, it was the opposite. It was Funchess over Benjamin, and it was Hopkins over Fuller. So these two teams, because they have two very good, capable receivers at both sides, you're going to see a lot of this where it alternates between which one of them has the big game. Now, let's talk about two running backs. Here's the thing. Okay, now back to Adrian Peterson. Because I only dropped him in one league. I dropped him in one league because I lost faith. Adrian, AP, AD all day. I lost faith in you, baby. But not that much. Just enough to drop you in one because I was like, I need players who can play. And I picked up Andre Ellington. I'm very sorry about that. Because when you came back, okay, now luckily it was a league where I had the number 2 waiver wire pick, right? Now, what does that mean? It means you got a very good shot at getting the player you want, but not a guarantee. Only number 1 definitely gets the player they want. The guy in front of me also needed a running back because I forgot whose his was, but his went down. It may have been David Johnson. And so he's been trying to get somebody, and he couldn't get anybody to take any of his trade deals. And so, it was, but LeGarrette Blount was still available in our league too, and that's the thing. LeGarrette Blount has been really playing some great smash mouth football. The Eagles are obviously very hot. Fuck you, Eagles, but I can admit it. Okay, listen, Dallas needs to get their head on straight if they're going to compete with you, and now Washington, who's starting to light it up too. So we got to get our ass in gear. Giants, we ain't got to worry about the Giants, not this year. Bye bye, Giants. Oh yeah, so LeGarrette Blount, but again, I have Marshawn Lynch in one of my leagues. And LeGarrette Blount is like Marshawn Lynch, running hard, but just not getting enough touches to really get the 100-yard bonus. And they're both, I mean, LeGarrette Blount has got some touchdowns. Marshawn Lynch has 1 fucking touchdown for the whole season. So they're not really getting the touchdowns either, although LeGarrette Blount's a little better, but they're just not getting the touches they need to be the back. But when they touch the ball, you can see that if they got it more, they would really do something. But both of them are very similar. They're both a bit of quandary. So in that league where I had the second thing, I had resigned myself to the fact that I would only have Adrian Peterson in 2 leagues. And in the other league, I would have LeGarrette Blount. And I'd be very happy about that because I really like the way LeGarrette Blount is running. And man, when I woke up on Wednesday morning, which Wednesday morning is like fantasy football Christmas every single week because you get to open your presents, see what you got. What did I get off the wire? What did I get? And there it was. A Christmas miracle. Adrian fucking Peterson. The guy in front of me, Team Nation, picked LeGarrette Blount. He went with LeGarrette Blount over Adrian Peterson. I couldn't believe it. I was fucking texting. I texted the manager of our league, who was like, "Oh, you and Peterson are back together again." And I texted him, and I texted him the commercial for Chili's. I got my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back. Because I was just so excited. I just wanted my baby, and I wanted Adrian Peterson because I knew he was going to be amazing, and he fucking did it. Oh, he did it. It felt so good, and I knew it. And the guy that got LeGarrette Blount was like, "You don't really think Adrian Peterson's going to be able to do it this week?" I'm like, "Oh, I said, I am certain Adrian Peterson's going to be able to do it this week." So, who's right and who's wrong? It led me to 3 victories this weekend. Very exciting stuff. But yeah, LeGarrette Blount, he's like Marshawn Lynch. If he got more touches, then maybe he would actually, he would do a little bit more. You know, but he's just not getting that many touches. And and that's the thing is, in Philly, they should be giving him the touches. I understand that he's older, so, and in Oakland they want to do, they want to manage his reps, and plus they got Richard, who's done very well, especially in terms of catching the ball. So I get it more with Marshawn Lynch, but if they ratchet up those touches for LeGarrette Blount, he's going to really be dynamite down the stretch. Boy, Gronk smash, Gronk smash, Gronk smash. Gronk, 2 TDs, 23 points, looking good. You know, a lot of people picked up Taylor Gabriel, expecting him to have an uptick, but it looks like that uptick went over to Austin. Oh, did you see Taylor Gabriel when the fucking Kiko Alonso... Kiko Alonso picked him up like he was like his son or something and just carried him back 20 yards, like spanking him on the butt and being like, "Naughty boy, where are you going?" Just threw him down. Oh, that had to be demoralizing for Taylor Gabriel. You got to wonder if his wife left him later that night. But Austin Hooper seems to be getting the beneficiary there, so he seems to be lighting up. Oh, what a great story. The Giants getting their first win versus Denver. Ha, 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 Denver. I would like to send that ha-ha to a good friend of mine, Bert Hamlin. Because fuck you, Bert. You're always fuck the Cowboys. Well, fuck Denver. You guys got beat by the only winless team left in the league, you dipshits. Which makes you wonder if Simeon's the man. The same wonder you guys had last year. The same thing you'll wonder next year when you're trying to decide who to ruin, whose career you're going to ruin next. Simeon just isn't that guy. He's, he's like a Jake Delhomme or, any one of these guys that's like good, but not, or Romo, good. Well, he's not even as good as Romo. I'm not going to give him that. You're no Romo. Simeon, look at me. You're no Romo. All right. Kirk Cousins lit it up. It was against San Francisco at home. He should have. I mean, they barely won the game anyway, but he still managed to put up 33 points because he threw 2 TDs, he had a bunch of yards. Chris Thompson. I played him at Daily Fantasy, man. Chris Thompson was a great daily fantasy play. He wound up getting 18 points because he had 4 receptions for 105 yards. So, I mean, Chris Thompson, I have a feeling he was going to be a really good DFS play, and he continues to be so. Melvin Gordon, this is a guy, oh, man. Can I tell him I drafted him last season in my keeper league, and I could have had him as a keeper. But one of the other owners wanted him so bad, it kept making me all these trade offers. So I traded him Melvin Gordon and some shitty receiver for Amari Cooper and Derrick Henry. A guy that I still think is going to be unbelievable if he ever becomes a lead back. And I thought at some point last year he would do it, and he never did. But this motherfucker got to keep Melvin Gordon. But Melvin Gordon got injured down the stretch, so it didn't help him come playoff time. But Derrick Henry, I have him back. And it's so funny. I almost played him this week over Marshawn Lynch because I was, but I was like, at least I know Marshawn's going to fucking touch the football. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen over there. But I should have, but you know what, he really had, I mean, they did get him more touches, but he didn't really do that much until the final play of the game when he broke it out for a 73-yard touchdown, ended up putting up huge points, which is what he can do if they were to actually make him lead dog for a little while, but they won't do it, so who knows. Carlos Hyde is still hot, man. This guy, and again, this is indicative of the fact that San Francisco 49ers are simply a team much better than their record. They're way better than the record. Evan Ingram, a lot of people picked him up because they were like, hey, someone's got to get the ball, and in this case, they were right. Evan Ingram ended up getting 5 receptions, 17 points. He did what he was expected to do. So if you picked him up and play him, good on you. Now, Mike Evans, just show you what a beast Mike Evans is. Now, he was a guy, I put up, Deshaun over there. Anyways, Jackson. I played him in Daily Fantasy because I knew that Mike Evans was going to be facing Patrick Peterson over there in Arizona. But Mike Evans still managed to get some big receptions, 17 points in fantasy. And I noticed that every time he caught a pass, it was because Patrick Peterson was on him on that play. Every single time, it was the other guy. The second they would get a switch, he went right to him. It was smart. So Mike Evans, he's just a beast. I wish I had him. So now, let's talk about some guys that now we can honestly say are for real. And I'm going to start with Nelson Agholor. Nelson Agholor is for real. And I'll tell you why. I thought he would do a little bit less because I thought he was more like only in 3 wide receiver sets. But the reality is he's in the slot. And he is doing amazing things in the slot. He's got speed. He's got length. It's working out perfect for him. He is for real. Play Nelson Agholor the rest of the season. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, as I said before, love me some ASJ. ASJ, baby, do it. He's the real deal. Adrian Peterson's for real. Orleans Darkwa in up there in New York. I mean, as anemic as the rest of the team is, Orleans Darkwa looks pretty good. I mean, unfortunately, I think he's playing on a dog of a team, so that might limit how much he actually scores, but he looks fantastic. If you need a running back, pick up Orleans Darkwa. So those are the guys that I think are the real deal. And, of course, going into, let's see who's to pick up off the waiver wire. Oh, Crabtree. Crabtree came back. Crabtree's still looking good. There's so many good guys. So, yeah, Nelson Agholor is the guy that I was talking about, the way that I think you should pick. Orleans Darkwa. Apparently, Adrian Peterson is still on a couple waiver wires. He's still out there. You go out there and you grab that sweet AP. You put him in your lineup. Because, again, I don't think he's going to do 133 yards and 2 TDs. But I think he'll probably do, you know, at least 100 yards and a TD almost every game. I mean, he's going to have a couple of games where he doesn't. Anytime he does the stop jump and then the jump stop to try, that's not a good sign. That's not his best style of running. He should just plant the foot and go. Who else is solid? Austin Hooper, I think, is starting to, you know, see some more receptions because of the injury to Sanu. Who else? Who's out there on the waiver wire? I mean, I'll be honest with you. The 2 defenses I talked about, New Orleans and Pittsburgh, those guys are out there. So, but the waiver wire is not as generous as it was last week when you had some names like Adrian Peterson and LeGarrette Blount and stuff like that on there. And also, I mean, if you need a backup quarterback, now's a good time to. A lot of people put Mariota out there on the waiver wire, so pick him up. But other than that, everybody else is just, there's really, it looks like Bilal Powell might be coming back, so it might be a good time to stash Bilal Powell. He's listed as questionable. Oh, Marlon Mack, I picked him up last week. He did not have a great game this week, but he was getting some touches. I still like Marlon Mack going forward. I definitely think he's somebody you want to pick up. And somebody that I think is starting to really get productive is Cordero Patterson. They're using him in fun ways over there in Oakland. I wouldn't be afraid to go ahead and pick up Cordero Patterson. And Eric Decker. That was another one I want to talk about. It's a good, Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard should start making his way back. Him and Eric Decker. Eric Decker showed up this week. He's starting to come alive. 7 of 9 targets for 188 yards, or for 88 yards rather. I like him. Now's the time to go ahead and grab Eric Decker. A friend of mine did it because he had AJ Green out and he wound up winning his game. So that worked out. And it's a good time to get Sterling Shepard because once Sterling Shepard comes back, he will be the #1 receiver in the New York Giants. It will affect Evan Ingram's numbers, but you can count. I think Sterling Shepard could wind up actually having a really good fantasy season because Odell Beckham's gone and Brandon Marshall's gone. So now's the time to get Sterling Shepard. The sheep, they need a shepherd. I am your shepherd in fantasy football. I am Greg Romero Wilson. Thank you for listening. Tweet me any fantasy question you might have at the Greg Wilson. And, listen, man, you guys, isn't this fun? Don't you love this stuff? I love it so very much. Having a ball. I think my teams are roaring back. We'll see. I don't know. Let's see if I can get another 3-0 weekend. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys for listening. And don't forget to go to my Twitter at the Greg Wilson and retweet the top tweet that you see on my feed. Thank you very much. Good night, and God bless.